Well, hello, everyone. Today is August 16th, 2021, and it is Monday evening, 5:30. And we here at Tustin Longevity Center do the weekly longer Ask the Doctor or Talk to the Doctor, in which we here at Tustin Longevity Center here in Southern California are a group of 5 healthcare clinicians who have a lot of experience with functional medicine, alternative, integrative medicine, and we see all types of patients and try to make available to you another resource for you and your family to find out how would an integrative doctor approach certain general medical problems of any sort. We have patients who are under oncological care for managing cancer treatments that we come alongside of and help them with their immune support and their nutritional support and diet and antioxidants and detoxing. We also see the very healthy, even athletes that are Olympiads. So we see anything from A to Z. So you can certainly ask your questions and type them in the chat section if you're logged on to YouTube. You can also go to office at tlcdoctors.com. That's office at tlcdoctors.com. And you can type an email to us, title it Questions for the Doctor. If you can't get on to the chat, we do this twice a week. So Wednesday morning at 9:45 in the morning, we'll try and take those questions that are emailed to us as well. So let's begin today with saying hello, and hopefully you can hear me well. Jennifer is asking, hi, Dr. Ellithorpe. A friend has insomnia. What are some general ideas I can share with her? I will share this video with her. Thank you. Yes, very often, as we live in a more technologically paced society, there is more stress on us, and the core center of our hypothalamus, our pineal gland, our vision, is being bombarded with electromagnetic energy. We can flip lights on just with a flick of a switch. We can have sound, light. Your cell phones often are too close. Even the light in the room on clocks can be enough to create a message if you are looking around your room that is darkened, but your alarm light is large enough to shut off those secretions from your hypothalamic axis that is associated with helping you to get into a state of sleep. So number one, I would probably ask the person to practice good dark protection for the room. When you're ready to go to sleep, it should be dark. The other thing is you should take your electromagnetic phones and things like that, laptops and such, and try and not have them near you when you're sleeping. Another thing is you have to be well hydrated. Your brain is an organ. You know, we think of our elbow and we can, if we play tennis or we're a carpenter or we're using a joint, you can get the idea that there can be stress, micro trauma on the tissues. But there is micro trauma to your brain. And sleep at night is supposed to be a time when your brain, your whole body is in a state where healing will take place. So if you eat late at night, if you eat really past 6 o'clock, so I made sure I ate before I came here to do this talk to the doctor time, because I don't want to have the excuse that, oh, we went long, it's 6:45, 7 o'clock, and I'll just excuse myself and let myself eat late. I can't do that, especially at my older age. So eating late will put a load into your stomach that biochemically sends messages to your brain and to your body. Blood rushes to your stomach, so there's a lot of immune cell function and surveillance going on to make sure that what you just ate doesn't have any damaging bacteria, protozoa, worms, things like that in it. And the other thing is, it is telling your body that you intend to really use your body for work for many more hours. So really eating late at night past really 6 o'clock is not good for sleep. Another thing is alcohol. Alcohol consumption might make you drowsy and lethargic, but as far as being a brain irritant, it is a toxin. And this injures cells, not just in your liver. And typically, I find women tend to use wine for many excuses, calming themselves, they say, helping them to sleep. But in fact, it really aggravates your brain and sleep and reduces your healing time. It's like taking a dump of toxins in at a time when you're asking your body to heal. So it's got to deal with this new load of toxins. It's an irritant. And so your threshold of relaxation is living in an irritated environment. So I wouldn't want you to eat late. I wouldn't want you to take alcohol before bedtime. I would like you to be well hydrated. I would like you to get your electromagnetic materials as far away from you as you can. Now, I know this may sound overdoing it, but even in the walls of your bedroom, there can be wires, and they have a whole magnetic circle, many feet worth, that can be irritating. Your neighbor could have a electrical unit on the side of their house or your apartment complex that has radio wave monitoring going on that sends out electromagnetic energy. Sometimes, and I had to do this myself in my own bedroom, I saw my neighbor build something on the side of their house, and finally I figured it out. They put a solar system up there with their electrical panels. And so I reoriented the head of my bed to the opposite wall. So I'm adding another, 10 feet of distance away, because the power of the impact diminishes with every foot of distance from that area. So that would be another thing. I also think we lead a more sedentary life in general. I don't think many people prioritize exercise. So doing a daily aerobic exercise is important for bodily detoxification. It's a lymphatic pump. It's a hydraulic pumping. And then, of course, you have to have enough water to get the rinse and wash system going. Then you can add in things like magnesium, which is a natural relaxant. It's also a natural relaxant for the membranes in the brain cells, smooth musculature. You can also add items that are calming agents. Ashwagandha, melatonin enhances sleep. That's one of the secreted somatostatins that help us during our healing time. So there are natural herbs. There is the natural melatonin. There are mineral supplements. There's water. There's exercise. And then there's moving out of the environment of electromagnetic energy, moving away from toxins like eating late at night or taking alcohol and so forth. So hopefully that gives you a kind of a good picture, Jennifer, of things to share. And very often my patients are helped with just that package of information. Let's see. Andre says, hello. Which supplements can you suggest for my 85-year-old mother who has a pacemaker and suddenly needs a dental implant? Well, again, this is not meant to be specific information, Andre. I can give my ideas on dental implants in an 85-year-old. I can give you ideas about nutritional supplement needs, especially as you get older. But we can't make this a specific medical recommendation for a specific person. But in general, older people have more oxidative buildup. So it's a pile when you're young and you burn up your body and use it, and then you go to bed, you bring that pile of damage and your repair is there. But as you age, the pile starts to build up and you don't try get it quite as well lowered. And so every decade of your life, your pile of oxidative cell membrane damage is bioaccumulating. These are picked up by sedimentation rate, inflammatory markers we can do on the lab. General complaints of edema, you start retaining more water, you're more irritable, you're more fatigued. So the cell membrane is composed of 50% fat and 50% protein. It is really a fatty protein balloon membrane, inside of which is your unique plant of batteries and your nucleus and all the things that have to go on. And if you don't eat enough fat, healthy fats and protein, and your gut is not absorbing as well as you age, most of us need digestive enzymes as we age, especially if you're blood type A, you need it when you're a younger person as well. But almost all people after the age of 55, 60, they tend to do better if they're eating a steak or eggs and bacon or chicken or fish by taking a digestive enzyme to try and get the nutrients out of that meal so that they can repair the cell membranes to have more resiliency to the stress of free radicals. And your own cells generate free radicals, like your white blood cells have these packages in the Golgi apparatus that are secreted, you might say, and released to kill an invading virus, fungi, or bacteria. And just the normal cell function of your mitochondria is always recycling electrons and trying to generate energy, ATP. So we are a fantastic system, and in order to build up the antioxidants, we use here, and I recommend because of the many, many decades now of research on the Juice Plus system, taking 2 fruit, vegetable, and berry capsules. That's 6 a day, or you can open the capsules and mix it into some unsweetened applesauce. Try and feed the older patients a richer, healthier diet of fatty, natural, healthy fats that you find in the chicken with the skin on it that's roasted, not deep fried. The meats that are more marbled and grass-fed. Free-range eggs, the yolk is full of wonderful fats for cell membrane repair. This is very important for their diet. Get them a digestive enzyme when they eat I would give anyone as they get older on an empty stomach, first thing in the morning, I would give them systemic enzymes to bring inflammation down. I tend to frown upon putting implants in the elderly. Um, and I tend to feel that we can help design a diet that they could chew. We can chop up their meals very well. So I think you'd have, I don't know the situation with your mother, but I would want to know why it's so important to have a implant. There may be a good reason. I'm not a dentist or an orthodontic surgeon. So if there is, then to prepare the patient, I would make sure that their vitamin C level is very adequate because we don't make vitamin C and that's stressful and aging is stressful. So you might bring them in for, find a doctor who is a functional physician who has vitamin C intravenous drips where they can put it in the vein for an hour. That'd be extremely helpful. And then the vitamin C helps with the turgor of the elastin collagen structure of the tissues. It helps avoid a lot of the sagging and wrinkling, withering of the skin of age. Natural hormones are very helpful for anti-aging, for all the robust repair and healing things that they do. So I would also be sure to have her on any elderly person on vitamin D, at least 5,000 international units with vitamin K2 mixed in with it. So they would get some immune protection, some bone building, because if you're going to go into the tooth with a bone of the tooth with an implant, you want to support the healing of the bone formation around the screw that they're going to use. So vitamin D with K2 would be very important. I would just in general use a very good multivitamin mineral so that you get a good spattering of the B complex family, minerals, some tailored antioxidants in there as well. And so that's how I would do the systemic enzyme to reduce inflammation, which allows quicker, faster healing, intravenous vitamin C or at least oral vitamin C every day. I would encourage her to be on a powerful antioxidant like the Juice Plus series, drink plenty of water, eat a robust, rich, healthy, organic, free-range, wild-caught fish or chicken or grass-fed beef, and use digestive enzymes when they eat, along with the vitamin D and K2. And I think that would be a very good beginning, especially the IVs will quickly perk them up. At our place, we have what we call the immune drip, which we put a super concentration of minerals and B vitamins and the like in it along with the vitamin C. Hopefully that helps you. Andre also asked, can you recommend a cardiologist in the Orange County area you work with? Thank you. We use very often Dr. Kanarkat, Kanarkat in Newport Beach, Kanarkat, Dr. Kanarkat. There's also Dr. Shoulian, Shoulian. I believe there's another one. If you call the front office at our office tomorrow, there is another functional cardiologist who promotes Juice Plus as well. And I don't recall his name off the top of my head, but he is in this Newport Beach, Orange County area, and I think he would be another good choice. I think the girls would have his name more readily than I can remember right now, Andre. So maybe that will help you. Sean is saying, I am taking EDTA chelation, that's wonderful, once a week, and transitioning to 2 times a week. Wonderful. My doctor suggested taking TLC multi-mineral, okay, but did not specify a number of capsules. Well, I designed that to be a 3 capsule a day component because I made it a very robust, rich multi-mineral. And I take it every day. I use 3 a day. Um, Please discuss dosage and need of this supplement. Well, the American industrialized farming really only uses nitrogen, potassium, and I forget the third item that's in the fertilizer. And that particular mix really combines with magnesium in the soil. And so that type of industrialized farming depletes magnesium in the plants, in your corn, in your green beans, in your spinach, in your Brussels sprouts, and all of it. And so this type of farming that is becoming like a government-based system rather than family small farms of 100 to a few thousand acres. Now there are hundreds of thousands of acres or tens of thousands of acres in these big industrialized scenarios, and they're doing the bare minimum to get the plant to grow, look good, and just sell it to you. So it is, if you look at, you can go on the internet and Google nutrient assays of tomatoes or apples or green beans, and then compare that with the United States Department of Agriculture in the 1960s after World War II. And you'll see the density of the minerals, the B vitamins, the nutrients are about, and I've just seen this casually referred to as about 50% of what it used to be 50 years ago. And there was a great decline since the 80s, and that's since we've seen, my understanding is Bill Gates and Monsanto, I don't know their connection, but Bill Gates now I think owns the most farming land. And I don't, perceive him as someone who is altruistically caring about the nutrient density of the fruits and vegetables. Therefore, magnesium is understood as our number one mineral deficiency, not to mention selenium, which helps prevent cancer or other of the trace minerals. So we are raping the land, we're destroying it, and we need to get back to growing our own backyard gardens. I have tower gardens. Juice Plus has these tower gardens with hydroponics, and you're literally adding in to the water that is trickling down the plant roots with these rich mineral solutions, and you can just taste the difference when you eat fruits and vegetables that are from a private system like backyard gardening or a tower garden, some hydroponics system. So unfortunately, we need to supplement. Now, I spend every day of my life here working month after month, year after year, decade after decade. And I do assays. I do micronutrient assays on tens of thousands of people. And consistently, I see people with deficiencies. And we're talking about live culture studies of the white blood cells that we harvest in a tube, and then we put them in petri dishes at the labs. And each petri dish has food for that cell to live and grow on. But each one dish, and there's like 60 different dishes or tests that they do, has one nutrient. Like one dish will have everything a cell would need that we know of except magnesium. The next dish will have everything plus the magnesium, but it'll take out vitamin B6. The third dish will have everything you need, but it'll take out CoQ10, and so on. So I've been doing these micronutrient assays since the 90s, mid 90s. And I can't think of one time where I didn't see a person with a lack of nutrient deficiencies. They all had nutrient deficiencies and several borderline deficiencies. And you know, the recommended daily allowances are designed really by no good, well-trained physician board. There have been many articles on this. Nina Techholz, who wrote the book, The Big Fat Lie, she got her article published in the British Journal of Medicine, and she tore into the recommendations for a low-fat, no-fat diet and how very little nutritional research is there to bear scientific validation for these theories that we've been living under for decades now. And in it, she quotes the groups of the men that have created the recommended daily allowances in the United States and in England are based on no real science. And essentially, they're just saying, well, before you get beriberi, dementia, diarrhea, you know, and that disease, how much vitamin B1 or 2 do you need to prevent beriberi, the disease, from showing up? And they'll say, well, you need, you know, in animal research, 50 milligrams. All right, then let's say 50 milligrams is the recommended daily amount just to avoid the expression of a disease. Same for scurvy and vitamin C. How much do you need to take just to avoid the expression of disease? So if you want to live on the edge of falling off the cliff nutritionally, depending on the increasing stresses we have, then the recommended daily allowances are for you. But if you want to live with resilience and endurance and stamina and be free of these chronic metabolic diseases, you have to try and take greater than the daily recommended allowances. They tried to get Nina Techholz's article ripped out and retracted from the British Medical Journal, and they couldn't. She was so good. Now, you have to know, Nina Techholz is not a physician. She is a medical journalist. But her work and her documentation was so great, they couldn't kick her off in her article from the British Medical Journal. Now that just lets you see, you know, how lousy these recent retractions. I've never seen so many retractions in the past 1 year over current issues of medical concern. So, Andre, the reason why we are taking these things, Sean, the reason why we're taking these things, unfortunately, today, is for these many reasons and more. All right, Amila said, if there is interstate travel ban, if there's an interstate travel ban, how can we still be your patients if we live out of state? I am very concerned since I don't plan to get a jab. Well, you know, our malpractice here is for practicing in the state of California. I don't have a license to practice in all 50 states. So that could be problematic. You know, I suppose if I didn't know you were out of state and you just didn't let us know and you made an appointment, I'll talk with you and see you. If I didn't know you weren't in the state, that would probably facilitate it. But in general, we here have our licensure for practicing in California. And I respect your decisions and your medical freedoms. So that's kind of the situation as it stands, Sean. Let's see. No, that was Amila. Lynn then asked this question: can a person on hormone replacement therapy rotate application areas when applying estradiol cream? Hands, feet, legs? Yes, of course you can. But the question then is, is every part of your body as well an absorption medium as the other parts. So one would say your skin on the face is very sensitive, very well vascularized. I put my estradiol on my face every day. I also put it on the backs of my hands so I don't have such bad looking, aging, knobby, veiny, kind of old lipofuscin, brown marked hands. It helps with the elastin collagen, and that helps your facial turgor as well. I even put it over my eyelids, literally all over. So I've just consistently put it on my face. Could I put it on the venous areas on the backs of my wrists? I think that's another option. I would think behind your knees or the upper inner aspect of your thighs. So I am not against rotating it. Now, if you're using testosterone as a woman topically, if you put it in the same area, like on your arm, you might see more hair at that site. I really have never seen it though, and I've been practicing and using natural hormone, natural topical testosterone. I just haven't seen that. But I've heard tell from conferences and other doctors saying that's a possibility or that they've seen it. But rotating your natural hormones in various places is fine. Now, I am on progesterone cream also. I do it cyclically. I do it the first of the month through the 15th. And I do rub my progesterone cream to my lower extremities, to my legs. And I put it on my lower legs, actually, rather than my inner thighs and behind my knee. And with the estradiol and with the cyclical progesterone, then even though I'm almost 70, I will have a small menstrual cycle at the end of every month around the 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. And so I know things are natural because this is the normal way a woman would have her estradiol build up. Then she ovulates. Of course, we don't ovulate, but then progesterone's made from the corpus luteal sac, and that progesterone will then clean out her uterus. She'll have a little menstrual period, and then the progesterone will fall off, and then she'll build up her estrogen again and the lining of her uterus. Then she'll ovulate, make progesterone, and clean out the uterus. So that's the cycling there. And apparently applying it to my lower extremities is good enough for me to absorb it because I have this natural cycle. I haven't been checking my levels as often because I've been on this dose for so many years and it's always been fine and stable. So hopefully that answers your question about the hormones. Jennifer asks, I noticed that the FLCCC has quercetin on their prophylaxis protocol. What is quercetin? Is it prescription only, and would it be smart to take it? Quercetin is a natural existing herbal antihistamine. It helps to stabilize mast cells. So you have different kinds of white blood cells. There are some white blood cells that will react to the irritants if you have a lot of histaminic receptors. B-type blood people, which I am, we have lots of histaminic receptors on our cell membranes. You'll notice people concerned about COVID-19, there are more ACE2 receptors in the nasal region of Black people than there are in Caucasian or Asian people and Hispanics. And so maybe this is one of also the reasons why they had a larger hit from the impact of the spike protein on the ACE receptors in their nasal area. But talking about histamine receptors, some white blood cells have more in certain people than others, and the B-type blood has this. So I always take quercetin. I've used this since the mid-1990s. And the company called Orthomolecular, who, we've flown out to their company, couple of times. I've been to their plant. I've seen all their production, met the owners and the scientists, and they started Orthomolecular, the company, with the product called D-Hist, and they have never changed it really. D-Hist is the same that it was from the beginning, and the amount of quercetin is, let's see. D-Hist has 200 milligrams in it in one capsule. It has stinging nettles. That's another herb that works as an antihistamine. Bromelain, N-acetylcysteine, 25 milligrams. Vitamin C, 150 milligrams. I take 4 of these every day of my life, which means I'm getting in 800 milligrams of quercetin. Another thing about quercetin is in the cell membrane. I don't know how to, maybe if I'll pick this up here. In the cell membrane, really these protein receptors should be, some of them should go from edge to edge. And they help bring in certain nutrients, and the term for that is ionophore, which means it's a site for certain things to come from the outside of the cell and get into the inside of the cell down here. These ionophores are there because it's hard to get certain items into the cell, like zinc. Zinc is not naturally flowing into the cell. Sodium doesn't naturally just flow into the cell. And so you have to have a carrier across the membrane to do that. And quercetin is an ionophore, which means it has the ability to assist transportation through the cell membrane of certain things. And that would be like zinc. Azithromycin is an ionophore and helps transport zinc. That's why it helps so much with these COVID cases. Another thing is ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. These all function to assist help in transmembrane delivery of things that are helping us to fight viruses. So I take D-Hist, and I use 4 a day. That's my maintenance. And they recommend for this, they recommend loading the first day, maybe even the second day. But since I'm on it all the time, I never have to load. But this is the worst season for me. Right now, we're going to get the fall pollens. I would have normally had a sinusitis, headaches, nasal congestion when I was a much younger girl and doctor. And until the early 90s, when I learned about this, I really have not had to take drugs. I've been solving all of this, and I really just never get ill. This is beneficial, folks, against viruses, and in particular, a lot of encouraging research about quercetin acting as an antiviral, even with the COVID-19 as well. There's another item that we use also. It's called Aller DHQ. It's put out by Zymogen. And this also has quercetin in it. And it has a more concentrated dose. You have to take 2 capsules. So 2 capsules give you 400 milligrams. Stinging nettles, bromelain, rutin, that's a little unique. It's got the C in it. So it's almost a copycat of the D-Hist. So that's what I use. And then let's see if I answered it all. FLCC, quercetin on their prophylaxis. Yes, I would use it. It's not prescription, and it is smart to use. Are urine keto strips still valuable if you have been on a keto diet for a while? They're very valuable. And I keep it at my toilet as well. I have my keto strips on the back of my toilet seat on the tank. And I think it's wise to check your morning urine periodically, because if you're not peeing pink, some color of light pink, then you are probably eating too many carbs and your body is not cleaning them out as well. It's very smart to do a fast for a day or two and see if you don't start turning that strip from beige, light beige, to a pink, then a rose, then a red, then to a purple. And when I go on the 5-day fast, which is coming up pretty soon here, September 7th is Labor Day. That's when I start my 5-day fast. So you guys can ask me, what color is my keto strip on those days? Yeah, I think it's a smart thing to check up on yourself. Is there any connection of skin problems such as eczema in people with blood type A? Well, yes, in the sense that we believe eczema is a manifestation of those patchy, scaly skin from your gut, because your gut had inflammation chronically going on for years and years that makes the skin break out from chronic inflammation in the body. So if you're a blood type A, you should take digestive enzymes with betaine hydrochloric acid in it. So you need the enzymes and you need the acid to help you break down your fats and your proteins. And then your skin will be more moist and plump and resilient to break down because our skin, gets hit and bumped and so forth. And I wouldn't bathe as often. I would not be taken in by all this marketing for skin products and just paying money for sales of skin products. If your skin is supposed to stay clean, essentially your pits, your underarms, your groin, and your feet, outside of brushing your teeth, are the only areas where really bacteria could be building up in an odor. So if you wash, sponge bathe and your groin and your feet, instead of getting your whole body wet and soap sudding it, because that hot water and the soap will break your skin down, dry out the oils, and you'll shrink and shred much more quickly. If you're an A-type blood, please be on a digestive enzyme, which will stop some of the internal leaky gut inflammation that's promoting these autoimmune phenomena. And, try and learn to shower once a week, if not longer. Our forefathers never had the privilege of all these lotions and daily showers or even weekly showers. If you look at, your old history books, it'd be, 50 cents for in the town to get a hot shower maybe once a month. Anyway, they would sponge bathe with the bowls that they had in the pitchers. Now, let's see. Also, do you recommend any blood glucose monitors that do not require a finger stick? It would be great to know what affects my blood glucose level the most in my diet. Because I have kept so much of my patients healthy, I really don't have a quick response to anything new up to date on the glucose monitors because it's so rarely used in our practice. We usually most people are type 2 diabetic from lifestyle. And when we change their lifestyle and they reduce their refined carbs and their starchy levels, we start some intermittent fasting, time restricted eating, certain herbs like berberine and vanadium to help them with their blood sugar management, then we don't need to monitor it like that. I'm aware of the fact that there are some topicals for blood sugar that are more like a continuous monitoring thing, but I'm not an expert on it. So I would talk with a pharmacist. In our parking lot here, if you're local, Jerry, the pharmacist there, has known me for decades here, and how rare with my older population people come. They're just not coming for insulin or glucose monitors. They do so well, and very little medication. But Jerry will talk to you about it. My son runs over there for the clinic so that we have a glucose monitor. It does involve the finger stick. And yeah, you would have to do that first thing in the morning. You could do it before lunch, after lunch, an hour, to see what the postprandial impact of that meal is. And if you could tolerate that for a week and some various foods, I think you'd be wise to do it. But talk with the pharmacist. That would be better, because I really have not had that much experience not needing to use it, which I'm thankful to the Lord for. Sean asks, is there an optimal time to test urine using keto strips? Yeah, the best time is first thing in the morning, your first urine, or the second urine you produce in the morning. And that will give you a good idea of how your body is able to bring that blood sugar down, so that there's some metabolic fluidity. You take in a little bit of carbs during the day, but you can switch over to fat metabolism for energy and be robust on that throughout the night. And then you should make ketones, and then you eat at noon and early dinner, and you'll get a little bit of carbs probably, and then you'll be able to burn that down and then flip metabolically to the fat burning. So we like this flexibility, this youthful diversity of life. But if you're stuck on a carbohydrate, self-gratification, addiction to carbs, you never burn fat, you never peak ketones, and you're just building up this balloon that will create this kind of chronic metabolic, pre-diabetic, pre-diabetes, metabolic syndrome, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease from all these carbs, and it will harm you. And then Garden Fairy says, I will lose my RN job if I refuse the C19 vaccine. If I did decide to get one, is there anything I could take to head off problems? I have Hashimoto's and had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. Also a severe reaction during allergy shots. I don't believe there is enough information credible out there for a physician to give informed consent. And you've witnessed the censorship, PhDs, even the CEO, I understand, of Pfizer, a couple of weeks back was supposed to make a trip to Israel, and he couldn't go because the CEO of Pfizer hadn't even taken the shot. And I understand a large portion of the scientific team with Pfizer, Moderna, these vaccines, even at the CDC, are not taking the shot. I wonder why. I wonder why they don't give us absolute unfettered access to everything that they put into the dilutants in those vials. So we have concern with this covering and claiming proprietary data, rather than in this time of alleged emergency, total, complete transparency. And with the flipping back and forth of advice from our alleged leaders in science on the mask or not wear the mask, do wear the mask, who should take the vaccine, the children shouldn't initially, only the elderly, and should we lock down, should we not lock down, is the PCR test a valid test? Is it not to be used for testing? Is it reliable? Is it not reliable? Now it's going to be deleted so that at the end of the year, December 31st, 2021, they're changing to a new testing methodology because they can't tell between the flu and COVID. Where did it come from? It couldn't absolutely come from any Wuhan lab, and now they are saying, well, it's credible information. Redfield was the head then of the food FDA, I think it was. I forget what Red Hill was the head of, but he was one of the leaders. And then as soon as the new administration took over and he resigned, then he's on the news saying, no, I think the virus came from Wuhan lab. I just don't like this lack of transparency in science. My goodness. So I cannot recommend the vaccination. I have other reports in which we have shown an article, and I think it's on most of mine. This article is our list of resources to use, and one of them is the children'shealthdefense.org. children'shealthdefense.org. That's Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s site. And around May 26th, he had an article there listing legal letters you could give to employers or schools requiring vaccinations. And it demands that number one, it lays out that this is experimental. They have no constitutional authority to require this. The Nuremberg Code says it. The Geneva Code says it. The International Court of Human Rights says it. I mean, every authoritative court has said you do not give an experiment to a person without informed consent. I can't give informed consent. There's too much back and forth going on. There's too much hiding of these corporations of what's going on. I don't trust the numbers. I don't trust the data anymore. So the children'shealthdefense.org has these legal papers there. Another thing they suggest also is that you retain a lawyer in which you make anyone requiring you to get the vaccination, they have to assume all liability for both short-term and long-term damages and losses in case anything were to happen to you. So first they have to sign, they're assuming all responsibility that you will sue them in particular, and the name of the department head and the company head that is requiring is them in particular if there are damages, and they would be liable for all potential ill outcomes, short and long term. Now, this is what we have to do. So I'll have Talon post this tomorrow morning, so it's up there. It won't be done tonight. And you can check some of those sites out. And hopefully that will help you with what you're saying your history is with all those autoimmune phenomena. I would certainly understand why you are not wanting to be in the experiment group. I'd like you to be in the control group like I am. And I also had, on active duty, I was required to take a flu shot, and I had never wanted that before, and I had just had my second son, and it was about 8 weeks after the delivery, and about a week later, the right side of my face went into Bell's palsy, and I still have trouble with it today, even. Okay, let's see. Robert, it's official. After taking Doctor's Great Bar, I stayed in ketosis. Hey, there you go. I measured it today. Thanks for the bars. Wonderful. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my 5-day fast Labor Day night after our Labor Day barbecue. And then I won't eat a thing for 5 days. So Saturday evening, I'll have a dinner. or eat rather. And what I'm going to eat is the bar. Okay, I'll have 2 bars, one for lunch, one for dinner, and I'll test my urine, and I should continuously stay in ketosis. Thank you, Robert, very much. That gives me. We work so hard in the research. There's about 20 plus years of research into these bars, human tested, very well shown to not raise your insulin and to not raise that glucose. Praise the Lord. Let's see, Dolphin. How do we protect ourselves from a jabbed husband? Stay away. Here is a issue of informed consent. How can I recommend something that now we are learning that even in 2015, after the research with the original SARS 2002 and 3 research on vaccinations on that there was the phenomena of shedding. And so why wasn't this made known? Now, what can you do about it? I don't think the inoculum is large enough to show any real problematic issues. I do know that some people have had bleeding postmenopausally. I think one infant was reported dead after the mother breastfeeding shed onto the, I guess, early few-month-old infant. So that's terrible. But what can you do? I would take systemic enzymes. Anybody who takes the vaccine should be on systemic enzymes because they help prevent inflammothrombotic events. And those little spikes are triggering these inflammatory thrombotic tiny little micros that might create headaches, that might create shortness of breath with walking, that might create the aches and the pains and the energy loss. So you need to take systemic enzymes on an empty stomach morning and evening. How many? Well, the products that we've tested, VitalZyme, VascuZyme, and Proteozyme, those are the 3 brands that we have a lot of clinical research on. They're all very good. I would take at least 4 twice a day on an empty stomach, first thing in the morning and last thing before you go to bed because you stopped eating at 6 o'clock. I'd be on a low-carb diet because sugar, starch, and fruit sugars promote stickiness, which is inflammothrombotic promoting. I would drink enough water because most of us, especially as we age, our thirst mechanisms are not as robust. And we have to just be grown-up adults and discipline ourselves to drink half our weight as ounces every day. So take enzymes. Another thing that's very helpful, I've always been talking about EDTA chelation. EDTA chelation improves microcirculation in all situations. And the TAC Trial 1, TAC Trial 2, and the ongoing TAC Trial 3, the NIH has sponsored and helped that with cardiological research on the post-heart attack survivability of people with chelation was most significantly improved. The people with diabetes and peripheral vascular disease had many postponed amputations because the chelation improved it. The process mechanism in the TAC Trial 2 linked it with the heavy metals. So you're reducing your oxidative inflammatory stresses. You're improving your microcirculation with chelation therapy every week. Enzymes, water, a low-carb diet. Those are a few of the things that I would do if you're married to someone who got the jab. But I would love them. You know, I think God wants us women to love our husbands without condition and to try and honor them as best we can in all situations, all circumstances. You know, if he died for me to pay for the horrible things I've done, then we should be willing to try very hard to endure. Because I think I get to go to heaven afterwards because he paid my ticket for me. So I don't need to worry so much about if I have so much fun on this lifetime. Anyway, that's my story. What about shutting? I heard they have zero liability for the, oh, that's correct. These pharmaceuticals industries are all indemnified. They have no liability for injury from the jab for any vaccine. And that was in the law of the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. And I'm going to repeat the name of the law again. It's the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. So don't give me this story that these are safe and effective. I can't give informed consent because nobody knows what the hell's going on anymore. And they're censoring us. And I'm mad as hell about it. So yeah, but you can hold your employer liable and bring the lawsuit to them and say, you must individually, as the head of the department, carrying out the orders of the industry of the hospital or whatever company it is, and the company itself must sign off, both the individual who is my supervisor and the company owner, for their policies, and assume all liability. Have your lawyer write that up. Okay, I'm assuming insurance will not cover injuries or death. Absolutely, absolutely. So how could any good doctor recommend something like this in such a conundrum that the dear patient is put into? So you get some clear-cut science that you can stand on, and you have total transparency in the alleged emergency, and then we can make some decisions, but not when there's censoring, and not when there's lack of transparency, and not when there's no liability on the manufacturer or the industry or the educational department, school head or university heads. They're not assuming it. No. Bull feathers on that. All right. All right. Thank you from Garden Fairy. Thank you. And I guess, let's see, Damien, we'll make this the last one. Keep us posted about your upcoming fast. My husband went to your wellness store this weekend, and he bought 2 boxes of your nutrition bars. We will fast with you. Okay. Well, you know, I don't eat anything from the evening of Labor Day, which is always a Monday, the first Monday of every September, until the next Saturday evening. So if you're not ready for a prolonged fast, then don't do it. But fast something. Bring discipline to your body in some way, restricting yourself from something. And then you can be said that you're fasting with me, because any good thing you do is acknowledgeable. Dolphin said, my husband wasn't even required by his employer. He just got the shot because he believes mainstream media. I assume no one is responsible, you know, for this. Well, you know, I was on active duty, folks, for about 10 years. And that was during the AIDS epidemic. And I saw things on active duty, and I saw the higher ups in the areas of the CDC, the NIH, the military medical hierarchy, Surgeon General kind of stuff, that you do not want, and I'm not going to talk about over the airways. It was abominable. And the only person I fear is God himself, because I can see if I even sin, I do things that I ought not to do. God knows without the Lord in my life, I would be far worse. And then without the Holy Spirit living inside you, correcting you and pricking your conscience, then my goodness, do you have any idea what these men on power are like? And now the women. So, excuse me, I have seen the most horrible things done and covered up. Therefore, I have only one that I fear, and that's God himself. And I'm ready to die for him at any moment, at any time. So I'm going to stand for him, my family, my marriage, my children and grandchildren, my patients, my staff here, and until I am expired. I'll never retire. The Lord will have to take me home. So, all right. I'll say goodnight to you, dear folks. You're the reason we do this. It's a joy to me to see so many of your recurring names. Please like and subscribe. And I have a new project started. So praise God. If it's going well, I'll let you be the first to know about it. It'll be another way that we can boost the health of everyone who comes to TLC. So it's another big study project I have, but it might be really exciting. I'll probably have information in a month for you on it. So praise God. Pray about that I'm doing the right thing. All right. All right. Take care. God bless everyone. Good night.